starting where we drilled, we're at the last grasping of the bird's tail, moving on to a nice single whip, moving on to a nice cloud hands, and ending with another single whip, okay? So that's our task. Right foot on a line, left foot 45, push out. Sit back, sit down, pivot, 12 o'clock. Use your hips and waist to get to the 9, 12 o'clock. Shift your weight to hook at 3, T, out and to the side. Turn that wrist, single whip. First one, sit back, sit down. Pivot, 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock. Hips and waist engaged, 12 o'clock, 9 o'clock. 2 things happen, 12 o'clock. 2 things happen at 3, second rotation. Use your hips and waist. 2 things happen at 9. Third rotation, 2 things happen at 3. 2 things happen at 9. Middle or cup, T, hook, out and to the side, second single whip. Half step, sit back. Rock the front, lift it up, high pat on the horse. Okay, come back. All right. So you may interpret my words as a certain way, and then that's your Tai Chi, but then just give yourself a chance to see how I use those words and why I say them, okay? So you can kind of match what I say and what I do, okay? So this is the orientation that we're at. Shift weight, hook, out. Okay, I'm just going to take it one time this way, but I want to concentrate on something, okay? One rotation. There's a certain distance in which your hands should do cloud hands so that it's not too far forward, but not too far close, but just right to make your Tai Chi posture work for you, okay? T, root down even further, hook at that and look at it, come across, step out, turn the wrist, sink a single whip. This sets us up, okay? Half step, you don't have to force the hands back, but the mere fact that you're going to sit back on your back foot helps you to alleviate the weight of the front, which naturally brings it to this stance. Lift up, come down, drop the shoulders, up the mane, cross. This one now, zigzag. You don't want to come forward. You want to come forward, but not straight, but on a slant. Shift the weight, center yourself because you need that core working for you, then follow the kick. Come in, L stance on a heel, bring that hand closer to your hips, bring it in, punch the guy's ears, and then at the end, turn the palms closer to his ears. Cinch it down, sit back, open because it warrants it because you're twisting and turning, gathering by your danten, coming up with your foot, elbows in, then kick out, in, and then work on this one. That's already, I can see that it's in that neighborhood because this guy happened to be on a line and this happens to be near that line. But then work on this. Once you kick out and come down like this and hook, you're going to have to plant yourself down this way. Plant yourself down this way because you're dropping down. You're not just dropping your hand down. You're lowering yourself with your knee by flexing. Okay, this guy stays where it is in that area, twisting to a zigzag this way, suspended, really suspended rather than keeping it any other way, then shift your weight to come up. So you could see, but maybe not realize, that if you take too big of a span and yet your heel and toe are in line, you're going to be so stretched out that sometimes it's harder to then come up and shift your weight. So you're going to have to find that area. But just knowing that doesn't mean that you should always take a shorter span just because you don't want to get into that position. You want to get into your optimal position depending on your physique, okay? So that's something that's very personalized, so you're going to have to work on it, okay? Not only to know that that toe has to be in line with that heel, but also that distance in which you have to gain that optimal position. Come down. The hand comes to the middle. You're going to spin out to your right, then come up. Then when we work on the other side, on the other serpent, it's spinning out to the zigzagging to the right, left and then right, rather than straight on. But once you come to the needle, then it's straight on, okay? So it's the little pattern there. So it's a lot of detail, but it won't work until you try it out. Then you try it out, and then we can dig in and kind of uniform our movements, okay? All right. So here again, it's personal depending on your strength and everything else. So I would say this is my comfortable position. I mean, you see people all the way down there and sitting and then making that serpent. But I would say, just like in your other movements, you go down as low as you want to, but know that you're straight up and you're posted, and you know that this will become an insubstantial or is an insubstantial so that it could pivot and take you out this way, okay? So good question, but I think you'll find that how much to weight down as you work with it. Oh, and so Ken's saying, hey, we did this one, remember? We did cross and we did our Heisman, yeah? So did that, go back to your Heisman and say, if that's the comfortable weighted down and the deepness that you can afford or feel comfortable, then apply it to your serpent. So that's a good reference. So you remember me saying that everything that I try to instruct verbally, you need to match it with what you do physically. Here again, especially with a more complex movement such as serpent, if you don't plant yourself and if you don't understand, I see some of my students just going, because that's serpent. That's an easy out, but they don't get the point that you cannot just swoop and get there and say, oh, I did serpent. You know, there's something more to Tai Chi than that. Yeah, it's a discipline. So you're going to learn to plant, you're going to learn to turn the hip, you're going to learn to pivot out, and you're going to learn to shift your weight. And if you do it carefully and like Ken says, do due diligence, you're going to see that it's going to be rewarding. You're doing it in synchrony, you're doing it in how your body should move, and it's safe, okay? There was something else I needed to talk about, so here's this. I really never say there is homework. I just take for granted that people who really want to dig in and learn, they'll do it. And the others will just, you know, they're too busy, which is fine. But if you want to layer this next week with a good serpent, I would try some of this out. Get used to get your body used to the move and learning what it is to plant, to shift weight and everything else, okay? And turn on that axle. We're using all the principles that we've been hearing, and now we're trying to apply, and that's the point of this whole thing about Tai Chi.
This is a real complex movement. It's toward the end, and it's probably physically the most demanding. And there's a lot of stuff going on, and you know, over time, I look at it and I say, yeah, that's not the way. I've been doing it such and such way, and I alter my movements, and I've done this, and I continue to do it. That's just the way it is. That's part of, I think, evolving with what the movement demands versus what you can do physically and what you intellectually grasp as what is the job, so to speak. And that's the challenge in some ways. But what I'd like to have you do is think about, Lucille was alluding to people just sort of do this and they just here. But she also emphasized that once you get out here, you have to hold your position. You're going to come down, you hold your position here. You do not advance. And one way to help yourself is not to be so eager to turn your head and your eyes. You come out this way, and then you're coming down. As you're coming down, you watch this thing come down. It's like watching the ball at New Year's Eve, okay? You watch it come down. Once you're down here, then it's time to start to go forward. Otherwise, what happens is it's look from up, coming across, look. Then you're looking. Take your time. You got all the time in the world, because this is supposed to be one of the favorite positions. And if you were to choose this position as one of your exercises, you know, this takes the least amount of energy to stay in this position. If I just, here, I can stay here conceivably, not all day, but a lot longer, okay? Because you're stable. Once you start to move, you're unstable, you can't stay very long. So, down. Take your time to look where you're going to go. And when you come out, if you're good at it, what happens is arm and leg, two arms are pretty much balanced. This guy doesn't duck and hide. It's, okay? And then you got to get your foot correct and not be too stretched. I tend to stretch too far because I'm just pushing myself, but she's right. If you come up here, not too bad because you just come right up. Versus if you're way out here and you try to do one of these things, man, it takes a lot of work to come up here. But as you evolve and as you practice, if your goal is to increase your strength, you got to stretch out. If your goal is to just put it together, and initially that's probably the best thing so you can do it smoothly, don't take so wide a stance so when you go from one position to this position, stable, stable. Because here you're sort of semi-stable with a bow step, a little bit of weight here, but you're ready to just come up. So take your time, look the hand all the way down, and then make like a serpent come across.
Actually, serpent is very difficult, and like Ken said, in both of us, it's changed over the years. It doesn't have to be years, changed over the months. And it's just the journey that we take. If you log into your first lesson in Tai Chi and how you did the 10 form and how you compare it to the 10 form today, hey, it's way different. But that's important. We constantly are refining and finding more stuff, good stuff about ourselves, okay? At the same time, yes, strengthening our muscles and gaining that endurance that we need. Anything else? So we know that what Ken does as Serpent and what I do are similar but yet still different. So we have room to accommodate everybody for their differences. But as long as we understand that we are on the same page of understanding what it means to root down, what it means to shift weight, what it means to then spin on that axle to get to that zigzag position. Those are the things that we're trying to promote and prioritize, the principles, so that it's not just applied to Serpent in the Grass, but to everything that we do in Tai Chi.
The bottom line is any Tai Chi is better than no Tai Chi at all.
That's right, right? And that's why you've lasted so long, because you know that there's something good going on with Tai Chi. All right. Time.